Dear guests, dear viewers, welcome after the lunch break. If you can see me and you can hear me, it means that you chose the second channel, or maybe not the channel itself, but the topic of the debate, which is European Innovation Council, European Innovation Ecosystem. So, and right now, let me introduce the moderator, Aleksandra Ihnatowicz, NCP, the European Innovation Council, and European Innovation Ecosystems, National Center for Research and Development.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm glad to hear you all and see you all. Today we will talk about innovation and how to use Innovative Europe to build R&D strategy and to boost innovation. But first, let me introduce my guests. Dr. Grzegorz Ambroziewicz, Deputy Head of Unit ACMEA and also AC Investment Fund. Professor Lucyna Woźniak, Vice-Rector of Research and International Relationship University, Medical University of Łódź. Dr. Tomasz Nasiłowski, CEO of Inphotech. And last but not least, Włodzimierz, Director of R&D Investment Department at the National Center for Research and Development. Welcome all. Let me start with some situation. We can see that on a ranking list of innovation, Poland doesn't seem to be on the top of it, let's face it. So I would like to ask the question to Professor Lucyna Woźniak first. Please tell us, what are the weakest points and on which level we need to use this additional push to catch up with European innovators, European leaders? Professor Woźniak.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I can see that I'm the first one here invited to add a spoon of tar for the barrel of honey, because all the time today during the conferences, we were talking about successes of Poland, which are very important and are really visible, and we are very happy that this happens. But the question is about the weakest points. So before I start, I would like to refer to some data coming from the interim evaluation report of the Horizon 2020, which was the base for discussions and recommendations of the Pascal Lamy group. And from this report, we know there are some data which I think we should know and share, that the number of applications per 1,000 research and development personnel and researchers in Horizon 2020, the average was 192, whereas Poland was 96 and was the lowest one among EU 28. And the number of participants, counting per country, are for Germany and Great Britain around 13%, whereas for Poland it's not more than 1.6%. Here is the gap. And we can discuss it further. But also it is very important to stress that there are some mechanisms and areas where we are looking quite good on the map of Innovative Europe. This is SME mechanism, because in this case, our SMEs were beneficiaries on the level rate of average, or even higher than average. So SMEs succeeded within Horizon 2020, and this is a good start for future. If you ask me about 3 factors that are crucial and incremental for the success, I would say that this is strategy and consequent consolidation of these strategies. These this is funds and expenditure for research and innovation, both internal and the access to the external one, which we know that is proportional. The more we invest in on the national level, the easier for us is to reach money coming from the European projects. So first, this is strategy. Second is investment into innovation, into research and innovation and education. And the third factor, which I can see as much equal as the previous one, or maybe the most important one, these are human resources. These are people who will be able to apply, who will be able to compete on the European level. And for this, we have to revalue the education system, the approach to innovation that we have in our traditional education. So we will have people who will be more innovative, who will be more connected to entrepreneurship as an important factor for the success. So maybe we also have to rethink about career tracks and giving people satisfaction and opportunity to use innovative approach, entrepreneurship approach as an important factor for their career track. In fact, we know that this is something that is strongly connected to the way we function, and also the way that our funding system and evaluation system on the national level is connected and works in synergy with the European programs and European funds. And this is one of the very important places where I think we have plenty to do. Polish system of supporting research and innovation is very much dedicated to individual people, to individual researchers. To some extent, building up collaboration, building up links and networks that are absolutely crucial for the success on the European level is not something that is promoted in our national system, because grants from National Research Council are mostly individual ones. To be prepared for the Horizon Europe, we have to build connections, collaborations, networks, and we have to be involved into them, not only on the day when the call is opened and we are looking rapidly for joining the consortium or building up consortium. This has to be a long-term policy, a long-term strategy of the universities, of the national agencies, of our national contact point. All of these people should work on building up networks that are in close touch and are ready for joint projects when the calls are opened. I'm also very pleased because the name of EIT Health and InnoStars appeared today already several times. And I think this is a very good example where this kind of network and collaboration is built within the European partners coming from both academia and companies and research areas, and the network should be translated into the European projects. At this level, we haven't succeeded very much yet, but I think this is our ambitious and this is our goal for next year. We should think about education as one of the most important elements of joining European research area. Our students, our graduates have to be prepared to participate in this global network. So they should get a kind of information about entrepreneurship, about collaboration, about possibilities that are offered. And they also have to be motivated on each level of their career by getting promotion for this kind of activity. Very often in traditional university system, research and innovation or entrepreneurship is not really treated as one of the tracks for the research career. This is something that we have to do in future. So people, funds, and strategies, goals that are systematically and with a lot of efforts introduced into our activity at our universities, companies, SMEs, startups, and all people who are involved in this innovation processes.
Thank you, Professor, for this input. You are a member of EIT Health, yes, that's Knowledge and Innovation Community, so-called KICS. You are also a member of high-level group of maximizing impact of EU research and innovation, so that's a quite extensive experience and you can share a lot with us. So thank you very much. Now I move to entrepreneur perspective and I would ask Dr. Nasiłowski, when we're looking at the whole innovation value chain and its three main stages, this idea generation, then development, and last implementation, where you can see that from your entrepreneur perspective, what caused you the biggest problem? Where is this most challenging aspect? Could you share with us? We can't hear you. Okay, poczekaj. Nie słyszę. Okay, we've got some technical issues, so maybe I would move with my question to another speaker and then we will get back to you, Dr. Nasiłowski. Sorry, but I hope it will be just in a second. Let's go to European Commission perspective, because we see that we have challenges, that we have a lot of room to do things, to make it all work together. But please tell us what Commission is offering at those different levels of implementation idea, what Commission is offering to us, to researchers, but also to entrepreneurs. What is this idea of European innovation, whole ecosystem, which Commission is now talking about? And I think, again, we can't hear you.
Okay, I'm talking.
It's okay. Now it's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Aleksandra, thank you very much. First of all, let me emphasize the fact that I'm really thrilled to be here in a panel of such distinguished guests, panelists, and greetings to Professor Woźniak, Dr. Nasiłowski, and the Director Kutz. I'm very happy to be here. Speaking about essential and critical elements for Polish innovation to grow. I was a bit sad to hear the words of Professor Woźniak at the very beginning, because this is my everyday job. Level of application of Polish colleagues, enterprises is rather low, but each cloud has a silver lining, and let me start with a very positive side. Poland, unfortunately, again, was very low in terms of number of submissions of proposals to our EIC, European Innovation Council program. However, there were 100 Polish startups and SMEs that were awarded funds of 45 million euros, first starting with the SME instrument, and then we moved to the EIE pilot under Horizon 2020. As you know, we have started with a pilot with a completely new system. And there are two companies that managed to be successful in one of the most recent rounds. These are two ladies from Poland who managed to build amazing projects. One is about production of green rubber tires through their novel technology, Green Deal technology, with 2.5 million euros receiving a grant. And the other project is Uvera, which is about natural and safe UV protection products. So again, starting with the positive side of Polish participation in our program, innovation program, that is called European Innovation Council, which is part of the boosting and supporting the European innovation ecosystem, but at the level of SMEs, startups, and small mid-caps. When European Commission looks at innovation, we look holistically. We look at the whole product cycle or innovation cycle. We provide support from the early stage, from the idea to the market. And here we have three main products, main tools that we have prepared, and these are Pathfinder, market transition activities, and the accelerator. At a very early stage, we listen to academia, we listen to small enterprises, SMEs, what are the emerging novel, innovative ideas, and at collaborative level, we support them at an early stage. Then we help them move closer to the market, teach them how to protect their technology, how to build their business model. And then the most critical moment, when we have already demonstrated technologies, solutions, business models, we move to the accelerator, where we provide a brand new tool, which is grant only, which is blended finance, that is composed of equity and grant. And here we look at SME startups, mid-caps, that will really go to the market, where we'll get the market traction, where they will manage to bring their solution, technology idea to the market. And that's where we see the real impact on the innovation on the European market, where we want these companies to build breakthrough innovation market. We want to make sure that our European economy is boosted by all these companies that bring the novel ideas. We want shining new technologies or new solutions, services to fill in our market and start flourishing there. So apart from these services, these instruments, Pathfinder, market transition activities, Accelerator, we provide services to all of these beneficiaries to get even closer to the market. So we open the doors to corporates, to investors, to large procurers, to make sure that they are able to talk. Because if a small SME of 1, 2, 3, 10 people, they would never be able to talk to Airbus, BMW, or NL or ABAB. We are here. We're reaching out with a helping hand to these companies to bring them closer to be part of the big supply chain on the market. So we are here to ensure that the idea that projects from ideas reach the market with our full support. We don't only look here, as I said, we are bottom up. So we think that innovation, the breakthrough innovation, is coming from you, from innovators, from startups, from these brainy people who have these ideas. But also we pay specific attention to untapped potential, which is still women. Today we have limited number of women who try their projects to be funded. So we have quotas, and we want to make sure that at the very late of our evaluation, at the level of pitching, we brought quotas, and it's growing. It was 20%, 30% off. Woman-led companies should be pitching in front of our juries, and we made sure that it happens. And actually, the result is fantastic, because today around more than 30% of our beneficiaries are women from the last call. So this is something that we want to emphasize. And a cherry on the cake, just to sum up here my small contribution, is the fact that we have much more budget available in this MFF, and this is thanks to you, thanks to countries who were decided on of New Horizon Europe, where we received 10 billion euros for the third pillar of innovation, which is part of Horizon Europe. And we want to make sure that we don't go alone here. We want to be supported by our friends, our colleagues, our stakeholders, our other actors on the market, to make sure that we grow together, that we build the innovation together. And here, Professor Woźniak already has mentioned EIT. We have just signed the MOU with EIT to make sure that we build forces together, that we help indeed SMEs, startups to boost their possibilities, to build to reinforce their possibilities and opportunities to get the market traction. But also I'd like to mention here Enterprise Europe Network, that is part of our support, but also National Contact Point, that I'd like to emphasize that their role is critical as one of the important elements in building European innovation ecosystem, but here specifically Polish innovation ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ambroziewicz. It really seems promising, this huge amount of different instruments, different opportunities. But now I would like to get back to Dr. Nasiłowski, sorry for this inconvenience, and see what's the entrepreneur perspective. What was your main challenges, and what are your main challenges on this different level of innovation management and innovation development?
Good afternoon. I hope now you can hear me. I first would like to thank and to express my gratitude for inviting me to this meeting, to this discussion panel and this conference. As total, I I'm pretty convinced that the initiatives that we have in New Horizon Europe can give us lots of opportunities, and definitely we should really use them as much as possible. And now I would like to address both speakers that were speaking before me. First, I would like to address the first speaker that was, let's say, explaining or giving the information what's the reason that in Poland we are not really too much active with use of these initiatives of like Horizon 2020, which is definitely improving. And then also from the point of view of the company. The company that I have started 11 years ago and leading this company, the goal of the company is introducing novel technologies, specifically optical fiber photonics technologies, into the industry, into different sectors of the industry. Not just telecom, as we all know that photonics, optical fiber photonics is used in telecom, but also many other, let's say, industry sectors like transportation, mining, energy, medicine, and so on. What we are introducing is like giving so-called disruptive innovations. So we are not concentrating on incremental, but really disruptive innovations. And let's say to some extent, it is pretty unique. And what's the reason for it? I think the reason is that Poland is going through a certain transformation. Actually, it's already like 30 years of this transformation, but the things cannot happen, of course, very, very fast. So I would say that really introducing innovation takes several stages. I find like 4 stages. So the first stage is like more purchasing existing technology from highly developed countries and introducing those technologies into less developed country, which Poland was, let's say, like 30 years ago. Then the second stage is like introducing some incremental innovations. So bringing the incremental improvements into those purchased technologies, and then some, say, improving and the innovative activities really comes in. The third stage is more integrating existing solutions together to create novel functionalities. In this way, we start to bring novel solutions. But actually, the real disruptive innovation comes with the fourth stage, where first we develop new technology based on creating new knowledge and going through self-research. And then with this creation of new knowledge, creation of new solutions, new technology, we can introduce this into industry. But this also is not happening, let's say, in a short time period. So after first we develop novel technology in the first part, which is usually finished, let's say, with a kind of prototype. Of course, we always do this trying to satisfy the need of industry. So we don't start from our ideas, what we think is useful for others, but we really try to learn from industry what industry needs. Then we create the prototype. So it's the first stage. Later on, when we introduce this prototype or we propose this prototype to given industry, given companies, then we need to offer them first kind of research project with our new prototype. So it's like a second stage of the research project, and this is, we have to learn how to offer not just a product, because it's not a product yet. It's a prototype. So we need to offer the research project for our customer, which is not the research project to develop the technology, but to introduce, integrate this technology into customer facilities and so on. So this is the second stage. And later on is the third stage, or third part of this fourth stage, I would say. The fourth part is to scale the fabrication. So by fabricating first prototypes, we don't really have the facilities to fabricate on a large scale. So then we need also the investment and to make really important step into really mass fabrication or scaling the fabrication, which can also take or be realized in parts. So we don't have to, of course, immediately really make a huge mass fabrication, but we need to start to fabricate, let's say, hundreds or thousands of new products, not just a few products as prototypes. So going through all these stages and steps, we cannot demand from industry immediately to switch to the last part. And actually, lots of say European project is more concentrating on or developing the novel technology, which is the fourth stage, or introducing this technology into industry. So I would say it's more EIC accelerator or the previous SME instrument projects. But also later on, we have to move to larger investment to scale the fabrication. And also, I think that this part can be, we can use the instruments of European Commission to bring this scaling. On this stage, we also need investors. So actually, the investors are following what is happening on Polish market. So actually, the novel technologies are still not very, let's say, popular in fabrication and mass fabrication in Poland. So that's why also there are not so many investors that help to scale the fabrication, who are ready to risk to scale the fabrication of novel technology. So if we are not really ranked from the point of view of innovations very, very highly, it means we still have to develop our let's say stages of introducing the disruptive innovations. I think we should also mention that beside the European Commission projects, where we can learn how to really bring or create those disruptive innovations and bring them into the industry, we also have a good stage or semi-stage to learn how to really make industrial research, which is different from academic research. I think the academic research is more concentrated on or is more motivated by self-curiosity, how new things can work. But the industrial research is definitely motivated by satisfying the needs of the industry and concentrating on satisfying the needs of industry, how to do this properly, how to really think as the user of my technology that I'm developing. This is what we can also practice with the project of our National Center for Research and Development. And definitely European projects or the European Commission projects are helping us with that. And so I hope that I was addressing the needs that you have with my answer. Definitely ready to explain more if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nasiłowski. Thank you very much. We already know the perspective and offer from the Commission side, but also there are some programs, instruments which National Center of Research for Development is offering. So I would want to move to Mr. Kutz and ask what National Center is offering and how it's helping innovators on their way.
Okay, so the National Center of Research and Development is operating more than 10 years already. And over that period of time, we have transferred more than 10 billion euros to entrepreneurs, scientific units for R&D projects. And if you ask me what NCBR can offer, it is the whole range of activities, the whole range of support for researcher, for SMEs, and also for large companies that want to build their competitive advantage and to finance the innovation. So maybe a few thoughts. So our core business is to provide financing and support for research and development projects, for projects that are executed, conducted mainly through consortia. So this is how we enhance this cooperation between business and science. And here we can observe that the profile of companies that apply for financing and receive financing, what evaluation shows is various. It varies. Those are big companies, big corporations that receive up to 60% of the costs of the projects. Those are very large-scale projects that last for 2-3 years. And my observation is when we grant financing and support, as an example, for those companies that are, for example, on the stock exchange, Polish stock exchange, the share price is rising because we have proved that this concept, the project has the potential for implementation. So the value of the company is rising. So this is how we support those companies this is how we support for building their competitive advantage. But mainly, though, those are the SMEs, so the small medium enterprise that applies for financing. Here, up to 80%. Now we have a call within our flagship program, Fast Track. That the small and medium companies can apply for financing from starting from 1 million zlotys up to 50 million euros for the project. But our ambition is to address the whole life cycle of the project. We talk about when we finance, what we finance today at this conference. So we developed also the network of the investment vehicles. We realized that in order to enhance the market entry, to enhance this commercialization phase of the project, you need to bring more professional management. You need to build the strategy of market entry. So we have contracted almost 1 billion euros for 50 venture capital funds, where those professional managers, those investors, help to evaluate projects and help them to, on that business side, help them developed, and we have very good cases. We have nice example of the projects that received financing on that TRL technology readiness level 3, 4, 5 on those I would say classical instruments when we provide financing for R&D projects, and then the same team got financing from the fund through the financial instruments also, and we observe them when they receive second round of financing, when they go global. There are a few very nice, very interesting examples when the companies that we have financed 3, 4, 5 years ago, today, 2 weeks ago, I've heard that the company raised 22 million zlotys round C of financing. So this is the excellent showcase how we address this ecosystem of innovation financing. I believe we address the whole life cycle of the project. The National Center of Research for Research and Development, I believe that we've built the expertise of selecting and supporting R&D projects, and I think we need to really work strongly and intensively on how to build our competence on providing them with instruments, those companies, how to growth, how to make growth. So this is the whole range of activities, how to mentor those teams, how to, as I said, build the strategy of the market entry of those innovative solutions that were created thanks to the financing that was providing. So here, of course, international cooperation, collaboration with companies from different countries, because I always say that science has no border. So this is when we wonder how can we address this this space for collaboration of on the EU level. So I think that this is the place where we can enhance this trans-border collaboration of teams to provide them with a platform that EIC is giving and other pan-European, I would say, instruments, how to build the global strong European teams of entrepreneurs, but also with of the scientists, and help them become competitive with their solutions, with their products.
Thank you, Mr. Kutz. We can see that European Union and Horizon Europe program aims to make Europe a front runner in innovation. There are a lot of instruments, a lot of programs, but hopefully now we can see that also Commission sees as a process. So there is a need for the synergies between different instruments, between different programs to make it all work together. And so I would like to ask Mr. Ambroziewicz now to give us some insight about some additional instruments, such as Seal of Excellence, Plugin Scheme, Fast Track, the ones which brought this perspective even broader. Mr. Ambroziewicz.
Thank you very much. Dziękuję bardzo. Indeed, the European Commission is looking at the beneficiaries at the current situation of innovation in Europe, and our analysis after discussion with member states, with our stakeholders, we come up with facilitating instruments, tools to help out beneficiaries. We usually set the tone. We usually pioneer new ideas, and this is already the example of blended finance that we have introduced very recently. There are other instruments within Horizon Europe that are very interesting also for individual SMEs to be part of, like the second pillar of Horizon Europe. But coming back to what we are offering and two instruments that you have, Aleksandra, mentioned a second ago, there are more another additional examples that we do our best to meet the requirements of our beneficiaries and facilitate their access to financing. So until now, Seal of Excellence, these are the companies that manage extremely well in the evaluation process, in the SME instrument, but also EIC pilot. These are companies who are very highly scored, and they were receiving diplomas, Seal of Excellence diplomas for their excellence of their proposals. However, because of insufficient amount of funding, did not manage to be funded by us. But we proposed, in cooperation with member states, we have agreed with them that they would propose at national level funding of this excellent proposals at national or regional level. Coming back to the Seal of Excellence, giving you more information about Seal of Excellence today, we have changed the way Seal of Excellence holders receive the diplomas. And as you probably know, you heard at our previous EIC information days or applicants days, the Seal of Excellence will be distributed or decided on at the at the latest stage of evaluation, which is the EIC juries will be able to propose Seal of Excellence diploma to specific projects. Once they receive it, they can still resubmit once again their proposal. So they're being given another chance. But in the meantime, they already can benefit from our business acceleration services, of which I spoke to you some minutes ago. Once you receive Seal of Excellence, once my beneficiary gets one, company is naturally proposed funding at national level. And this is being proposed in member states. I know in Poland, NCBR plus PARP, they did have until now definitely funding opportunities for them, and I know that more than 24 of companies managed to get funding from Polish from ESIF, structural funds funding, being decentralized and managed by Polish authorities. So big thanks to Polish authorities and NCBR and PARP that managed to build this instruments for Seal of Excellence holders to give the funding, to provide funding to Seal of Excellence holders. Companies, this will be continued. Then we have created also support with the EEN. We have proposed in our current work program the Enterprise Europe Network will provide additional service to Seal of Excellence holders to show what are the access to finance possibilities, private sector or public sector. So this, we are working with the EEN today to make sure that we build the best package for Seal of Excellence holders to make sure that they are giving the funding opportunity. Coming to plugins, so it's another way how we try to how we do in practice manage to help beneficiaries applicants benefit from our program. This is through cooperation with national authorities who build similar or very similar program to ours, in our case EIC, and they would propose to us their best applicants to receive funding from us. This is being done through negotiations with member states, so Commission with member states, with national authorities, decides as we speak now their negotiations which program in which country will have access, will be able to be part of the plugin from so many projects that are being proposed from national authorities, similar programs to the European Commission EIC. How does it work? There are proposed applications to us, to the Commission, that have to meet two first criteria of the EIC, of the accelerator, which is the excellence of impact, meaning that they have to be extremely good. These two criteria have to be fully respected. We are going to check at the same time that there is no duplication of funding of activities that are supported under accelerator with the existing grant allocated at national or regional level. And of course, that the applicant proposed by national authorities meets the eligibility criteria for the EIC accelerator. So these are the three conditions. Once they are passed, the applicant will be able to pass directly to the full application, meaning that in our very thorough and very difficult evaluation process for applicants, very competitive in first place, it's jumping already step 1 to step 2, which is to submit the full application. And within 12 months, such an applicant will be able to submit a full application within for a specific cutoff date, and according to what is a bottom-up call or a ready thematic call. So to sum up, we are working constantly. Well, first we're listening to beneficiaries, we're listening to applicants, we listen to member states, national authorities. What are the best ways to help, to facilitate which products to develop, and seal of excellence plus the plan, I think, are the very good examples to our response, to show our responsiveness and client-oriented mindset. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ambroziewicz. Now I would like to get back to Polish perspective, and I would like to ask Mr. Kutz, what is the way how a national center would use the room for synergy, and what kind of work national center would do to put it all together? Mr. Kutz.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for describing this mechanism. Actually, we are observing very thoroughly the EIC plugin initiative. It is very interesting, and we have already provided our two programs that we implemented in NCBR as a potentially provider of good breakthrough technology projects that will be excellent source of AIDS plugin accelerator financing. We have notified Bridge Alpha project and Fast Track project. Bridge Alpha program is a program where up to date we have provided financing to almost 600 projects, and those are really breakthrough technology projects with the potential to enter the market with the potential of commercialization, because of cooperation with private investors, with venture capital funds. So we have we had a look on the number of projects, whether we can notify them as a candidate to EIC plugin, and with a positive result. That's why we have already notified, as I said, 2 projects. But coming back to what we can do as a National Center for Research and Development in order to build the synergy with Horizon programs. Well, as I observe our activities over the last few years, what we've done, we have built our presence in Brussels. We have NCBR kind of a branch office bureau in Brussels. So we have quite a direct look at on what is going on, so we can be stronger on that EU level. We cooperate with the Business and Science Poland that was also created not that long time ago, and we have merged last year with the national contact point to strengthen, to make to make us together stronger, because national contact point over the last years built extremely valuable know-how and knowledge, how the Horizon programs, how they work, how we can use them. So those are small steps that we have executed, but I believe those steps will help us to build this coherence and synergy with the EU programs, so that we can provide our beneficiaries with the whole range of support that is available, and we are and we have a lot to offer together. As when it comes to the budget, this program, the next programming perspective looks very optimistically. So I hope that this experience that we have built over the last 10 years and this knowledge and this strength that we can use together with the national contact point will help us to provide financing, knowledge, all the activities, mentoring programs for our beneficiaries, so we can build this competitive advantage. So eventually we will go up on that innovation scoreboard in the years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Kutz. We need to finalize this panel, but I would like to ask you just one thing. Give a tip to our innovators, just a single word, single sentence. Please, Dr. Ambroziewicz.
I think don't shy away. Competition is stiff, but please submit your idea, a disruptive idea, and try again.
Woźniak?
Start thinking about the application as early as possible. Build up networking. Networking plus funds are the basis of success, as Professor Manuel Castells says. So start thinking early and building networking.
Dr. Nasiłowski?
Okay, very fast. The disruptive innovations are the only innovations that can create competitive advantages. But to get there, we need to undertake the risk. So to mitigate this risk, I'm really inviting and convincing everyone to get for the European Commission funds, to get those projects, which are a really good way to mitigate the risk. And when applying for these funds, I would like all of us to remember to treat the Commission more as the investor, not as the judge who is checking if our idea is very complicated, and if we understand it, don't try to explain how your idea works, but just to convince everyone that your idea is profitable, the same way as you would like to convince the investor. So be open for collaboration, which is really the key to introduce innovations. be open to new experiences, be creative. Also remember about responsibility for your commitments, and don't forget about endurance and hard work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for these thoughts. Thank you. I have nothing to add, I guess. Thank you all. Thank you for your input. Thank you for sharing. Or maybe one thing. It's okay to fail. Just try and just start applying. We as a national contact point will help you, will guide you through this process, but just do it. It's your turn. Finger crossed. Thank you.
Aleksandra Ihnatowicz, finishing her discussion debate, said very wise words. There is nothing wrong in failing as long as you try. I'm going to use another quote that I really enjoy, because Henry Ford said once that coming together is a beginning. Staying together is progress, and working together is success. This is the reason why we're so happy that you are here with us together, because maybe in the future, in the years to come, we'll have a chance to also work together. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce the moderator of our next debate, Katarzyna Walczyk-Matuszyk, NCP Widening Participation and ERA, National Contact Point, National Center for Research and Development.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to cordially welcome you to the session dedicated to widening and synergies. Today, jointly with my panelists, we will try to find the reply to the question, how can widening instruments and synergies enhance Polish participation in Horizon Europe? Before we will go to the ex-ante assessment, let me introduce, of course, my today panelists, who is the Manuel Aleixo, Head of Unit from the European Commission, Professor Maciej Żylicz, President, Foundation for Polish Science, Professor Justyna Olko, Director, Center for Research and Practice in Cultural Continuity, Faculty of Artes Liberales, University of Warsaw, Dr. Jacek Gajewski, PhD International Project Coordinator, National Center for Nuclear Research, and Dr. Malwina Gębalska, Chance Program Coordinator, National Science Center. Widening has been mentioned today many times in many interventions. Widening package and strengthening the European area constitute an important part of Horizon Europe, with increased support to widening countries in particular in their efforts to make the most of their national research and innovation potential. The package offers on one hand core instruments with evolutionary changes to the past perspective, like Teaming for Excellence, Twinning or Erature, and on the other hand, there will be novelties like Excellence Hub or enhanced NCP initiative implementing Advancing Europe package elements. Widening aspects are important as well throughout Horizon Europe, in form of geographical balance as selection criterion, hop-on mechanism throughout Horizon for Pillar 2 projects, as well as elements of European partnerships. On top of that, new financial perspective offers new simplifications in regard to synergies between framework program as Horizon Europe is and other EU funds, in particular ESIF. And that all should enhance the impact of widening instruments and enable implementation of valuable research and innovative projects. So let's go to the first round of questions, widening and synergies in Horizon Europe. What's new and why to apply? I will target my first question to Brussels, to the head of unit. Manuel, Aleixo, please, could you tell us what is the offer of Horizon Europe for widening countries in regard to instrument and in regard to synergies?
Good afternoon, Katarzyna, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation to be with you. It is really a great pleasure. Your introduction was extremely complete. In fact, you covered most of the issues that I wanted to mention and that I should indeed mention. I'll come to the individual actions in a minute. If you allow me, I would like to say just a few words about the context in which all of these actions were put in place, were discussed, and were adopted. This was quite a long process. As you know, the Commission presented its proposal for Horizon Europe a few years ago already. It wanted to seek an agreement before the European elections in 2019, if you recall. So it was a process that started quite early in terms of discussing ideas, discussing with internally and the Commission, of course, but with the Member States and with the European Parliament. And as such, the process did mature quite a lot. Now, in the discussions of concerning Horizon Europe, there was always one particular area which was not only extremely important, not only an extremely important political priority for the Commission and for the Member States and the European Parliament, but also an incredibly complex discussion. And that was the whole widening package, if I can call it that. Now, one of the outcomes of these discussions, as you know, was this so-called Advancing Europe package, which was one of the names that was chosen at the time during the negotiation. When you look at the program in its current form, and it's close to being formally adopted, as you know, you will find that there are some elements which are fairly subtle, but I think are quite important, and they do show this the dynamic of this negotiation and the importance of this negotiation. For example, among the principles of the program, you find an explicit recognition of the need to improve the R&I divide and the need to assist widening countries and to bring them closer to have a more cohesive widening policy. So this is explicitly stated in the program, and I think this is incredibly important. It also is significant the way that many discussions about the framework conditions in different countries and the way that we need to pay more attention to that and to the way that these evolve. And there is a particular provision on monitoring, for example, in which the Commission is entrusted with the responsibility of monitoring the evolution of salaries of researchers in the Member States too. Now, this is something that you haven't seen before in previous programs, and certainly this is I think, an indication of how seriously member states and the European Parliament, the legislators, considered these issues in the wider picture. Now, moving now to the package as such in its entirety, I would like to mention some issues which are related to the program and some which are a little bit outside the program. But again, I think they are part of our wider or our overall widening policy. One of them is of course the most visible, and that is the budgetary increase. Of course, we have an incredible increase in funds attributed to widening, and that is 3.3% of the budget. Now, this is truly an impressive figure, and we believe that in itself it is an important signal from the co-legislators. We also have something that didn't exist before. Again, it's probably more symbolic than anything else, but symbols matter often. And that is the fact that we now have an explicit list of countries. And we no longer have a reference to a definition of widening countries according to any particular indicators. We do have a list. We know exactly which countries are widening countries, and they are explicitly stated in the regulation, in the program. Now, you mentioned already a little bit in your introduction the traditional instruments, the traditional actions, the teaming, the twinning, the area chairs. I could also mention cost, of course. These are all there. These are hopefully a little bit improved, but these are still there. We also came up with a host of other measures as part of this package, which we hope will also help make a difference. Why? Because sometimes you need to have a bit more practical measures and measures that help actors directly on the ground. And that is also part of the process of consulting and discussing when we were preparing the proposal for the framework program, and indeed negotiating. We found it very important to listen to the different actors and to try and find out exactly what they need and what makes a difference to them, to NCPs, for example. So we had, I mean, you mentioned the hop-on measure, which is applicable for collaborative projects, and was indeed an object of a lot of discussion. We have this will, by the way, just a parenthesis, this will only be operational a little bit later because it will require projects to be in place. The hop-on measure works with an entity from a widening member state to join a consortium that is already formed, and so this requires obviously that there are consortia formed under the new program, so it will take a little bit of time. You also, I think, mentioned the fact that there will be more support for NCPs. I won't go into more details now. Maybe a little later we'll have time to discuss this into a little bit more detail. Perhaps I would mention also the excellence initiatives, the excellence hubs, the universities initiative, the brain circulation initiative. We've also tried to pay much more attention to that, as you know. The situation now is that we are preparing a study, and that further action will depend a little bit on the conclusions of this study, although we already have measures already prepared in the new program and in the new work program, waiting to come in force if necessary. And so this is a little bit a part of the overall picture within the program in terms of widening actions. Now, you also touched upon synergies, and of course this is a slightly different approach, and it comes out of a realization and a recognition that in order to address the challenges that we face at European level, at national level, in order to direct investments towards what we call the twin transitions, and now even more prominently towards the recovery. We need really to direct investment and to catalyze investment in the proper direction. And this involves sometimes bringing together different sources of funding. And this is what we mean by synergies, is having different programs working together. Now, we all know that this is not easy. We all know that this has been a long discussion from the past, and we don't presume to have solved everything this time around, but we do think that we made important advances. And of course, the whole point of working on synergies is to maximize impact and to leverage investments in research and innovation. Very quickly, we foresee different scenarios for synergies with alternative funding, such as the Seal of Excellence. I think it was already mentioned here, certainly, during the day. We have combined funding, where we can mix the use of funding, for example, for partnerships, research infrastructures. We have the possibility of a transfer of funds, which is also a novelty now in the not only in the Horizon Europe program, but also in other programs, because they need to work together. Now, we have rules in place that will allow us to go further with synergies. The challenge, of course, is then to make this work at national level, to make this work at regional level. So we will now be putting in place several actions in order to try to make this a reality on the ground. One last point, because I think I'm probably getting close to the time, is outside of the program now, talking a little bit under the perspective of the European research area, where also the idea of greater cohesion and greater access to excellence and bringing member states together, more inclusiveness, if you like, is also often a very important topic and certainly an objective of the European research area. The European Commission adopted last September a communication on a renewed European research area, a new era, if you like. And one of the objectives of this new era was precisely improving access to excellence. So there we propose several actions. I won't go into detail now, but we do propose several actions in order to help member states carry out reforms, to help member states improve their funding, and indeed to with the objective of greater inclusiveness and improving R&I systems. One possible point, and some of our colleagues listening will know this, we are putting in place an ERA forum for transition, a forum in which we have representatives of the member states discussing. And indeed, in this forum, for example, will be one of the places where we will discuss certainly further reforms and further actions in terms of improving member states' access to excellence in the context of the European research area. So this is just another indication that we are trying to be as widespread as possible in our widening policy, and we are trying to cover as much ground as possible, both with funding, both with combining funding between programs and assisting member states with reforms. And we are trying to go further than we did with our previous instruments. I will stop here if you allow me, and I hope to be able to come back again. Over to you.
Thank you very much for this extensive presentation and explanation about the package, but also the political context, which is very relevant in regard to widening countries. So now I would like to target my second question to researcher. So Professor Olko, as beneficiary of the ERC and Twinning grants, you have a vast experience in application process as coordinator from widening countries. What were your major elements that brought you to that success? And do you see a chance in the new widening instruments for fostering your research position?
Good afternoon. Our widening instrument project was a twinning grant, Engage Humanities in Europe, Capacity Building for Participatory Research in Linguistic Cultural Heritage, carried out with SOAS University of London and the University of Leiden in the Netherlands. And it focused on language revitalization, supporting linguistic cultural diversity, and collaborating with minority communities. So in our application process and in the way how we conceptualized this project and the application, and how we also carried out the project later, there was one very important assumption, that it was never about one-way transfer or one-way capacity building, but it was a process of mutual enrichment, and mutual learning, and also empowerment process that included non-academic partners and institutions to maximize the project's social impact. It was also beyond the dimension of capacity building. It was also about creation of new ideas and new methods, new approaches to carrying out research. And it was, I think, was pretty much visible in the proposal and also in the ways we tried to implement the project. And in the longer term perspective, for the application, taking into account application for other grants, the twinning has created long-term partnerships. And these partnerships are constantly expanded and enriched. And on a very practical level, it facilitated the creation of our international center for Research and Practice in Continuity, that was co-established by academic institutions in UK, Netherlands, and Germany. Another important element is how you can make your research and your activities sustainable, how to make them expand and grow. And it's if I make a direct reference to the twinning program and this process of mutual capacity building, I think it made us aware. It not only brought some skills or developed some skills and some solutions, but also made us aware what are further research gaps that we hadn't addressed before, and what are research questions that we can and should address. And this brought us to other successful grant applications, including the grant of the Foundation for Polish Science, or the most recent ERC, a consolidator grant. So based on this experience, I believe that the opportunity and the chances for our participation in Horizon Europe is that it's not just about one-way transfers. It's about creating real synergies by partners from different parts of Europe with different traditions of scholarship and a different know-how. So for me, it's not about spreading excellence. It's about raising and fostering excellence as a continuous and never-ending process, and also multi-way process, multifaceted process. So it's not a result, it's not a state that cannot be simply transferred. So I think this has always been the idea behind the activities that I coordinated, and what I'm particularly looking forward to is the research component in the new widening instruments, and I think this is a very important opportunity for future projects with Polish participation. But also I see certain constraints. And I think if we are somehow efficient in dealing with these constraints, then our success rate and the projects will be greater, or will be bigger in the future. And these are mainly internal constraints in specific institutions. For example, difficulties to hire international team members, the best team members a researcher could possibly find on the market, due to constraints in salaries. So it's not just about our mobility, our ability to go and do research abroad, but also create competitive research teams in Polish institutions. Another constraint is, from my perspective, are administrative hurdles or over-regulation of administrative procedures that are applied to such grants as twinning, for example, where we had to organize a huge number of activities and carry out a huge number of activities. So it was very difficult for us to accept that our partner institutions can implement certain activities and solutions in very much more efficient and more tailored to the project's needs than we could. So I think we should work with our institutions and should work on simplifying certain procedures and making them more adequate for our purposes, so that we could take a fuller advantage of Horizon Europe and of the widening tools that are available.
Thank you very much for your intervention and mentioning both the advantages such as sharing excellence and the research component incorporated in new widening actions, but also indicating very important disadvantages we are facing still in the region, like the salaries or administrative burdens. Now let's remain within the beneficiaries of widening actions. So now I would like to ask Dr. Gajewski. You are representing one of the Polish beneficiaries of Teaming for Excellence, Nomaten Centers of Excellence. Can you tell us how the frame of such prestigious grant enhance the position of the Centers of Excellence in the European international research agenda? What would you indicate as the major advantages after more than a year of operation? Maybe also there are some disadvantages as well. Why to apply? Dr. Gajewski, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind invitation, which I don't feel it was invitation personally to me. It's rather to my institute. To be frank and to be clear from the very beginning, I am not the coordinator of the teaming project. I'm a project manager and one of the, let's say, authors of the proposal and a kind of a person who helps the high-level topical top scientists to run this project. So what the teaming gave us, okay, it clearly increased our credibility and credibility among our European partners. When I tell them, okay, we have a 7-year project, oh, that's whoa, 7 years that we can do something. So, or we have a strong strategic partners. We have a CEA, which is a known giant in France, and we have a BTT, which is a top level institute with some commercial activity, but also very experienced in all the commercialization and innovation strategies. We have a solid and flexible funding. Professor Żylic will tell us a little bit how 2 different types of fundings can contribute to a better possibilities. And we are highly international. So by definition, by our will, by the need of the cooperation, all that means really a high credibility, which not only in the world, but also locally, we were honored or even astonished after the result was announced. We had a visit to our institute by a prime minister and vice prime minister. Vice Prime Minister Govin, who started this conference, was visited our institute. So it was really a high visibility for us. What that really gave us is a chances to enter different collaborations and consortia. So people are willing to work with us, and that is really very fortunate to us. Second, we have elevated from to the frontiers of science, topics which we are now, let's say, tackling are really, okay, most difficult or most advanced topics in this area. The area is novel materials for engineering and for radiopharmacy, for cancer research, and so on. Yeah, this high visibility and this topic gave us some kind of a okay. We had to start, of course, and grow. So our main problem is the gaining enough top-level researchers. But those researchers, having heard about these possibilities which we have, are now abundant. We don't have a problem to find, let's say, candidates for our positions. We are also better seen in various international bodies, like platforms or clusters or whatever. So several of our persons are now having head positions or managerial positions or strong positions. So somehow among our colleagues, we are seen as a strong partner. Yeah. The topic, which is not that easy, and following what Professor Olko said, I will also say something maybe not really what is not ideal in the current situation, is that we lack some funding and possibilities of accessing the infrastructures, research infrastructures. We have enough funds for salaries, we have enough funds for events, for everything, but we need equipment. We are physicists. We cannot work with piece of paper. So that is something which is not really yet fully solved, this one. On the other hand, the long-term perspective gives us completely different possibilities, which were not possible previously within the normal paradigm of 2 or 3 years research project. We can let's say, embark on cyclic conferences. We can embark on long-term experiments, which by their nature need quite a lot of time. We may educate our own PhDs. The time is enough to go through whole PhD cycle. So we are very strongly involved in educational activities. And again, because of this co-funding of different sources, we have some more financial flexibility. Okay, so all that in total, I would say, this created a win-win situation and a kind of a, I would say, snowball effect, and I'm very grateful to European Union that they started this avalanche. But okay, we have a modern management systems. We have international steering committee. This attracts people. So we are becoming bigger and more attractive. And if we are bigger and more attractive, then we are again more international and more innovative. And all this starts to turn around. Yeah. Looking from the perspective of this 1 year, I would say what was really important was to build a truly international team. We have already more than 40% of foreigners from all over the world, and there is no limitation in it. We have updated our HR procedures and all that stuff. And we have also a better understanding of the mechanism and the science we do it. By the way, I'm really happy with the phase 1 and phase 2 mechanism. So we had a 1 year of warming up as for the real work, where we not only presented a business case or business plan, but okay, we tried to cooperate with our strategic partners, and we tried to find different, let's say, infrastructures which we can tackle. We had a much better recognition in the community. We have now invitation to cooperate with areas which were not thinkable before. For example, as we are material scientists and we are usually related to the some nuclear effects, we are now invited to the studies of the fusion. Yeah, so which is a extremely difficult tackle. Yeah, but all of a sudden we are invited to something which we could only dream of. Yeah, something. And now, of course, because of that, we have also easier access to this external infrastructure, which is like water on a desert for us. We need it, yeah, to do something. So just to summarize in one word, you said, okay, you are aware we failed at the very beginning. Yeah, we tried first time and we failed, but that was not a lost time. We learned a lot. So please don't lose your chance, don't lose your courage. Maybe not the first time, but you will do it. If you don't write the application, you will not get it. If you get it, you are on the top. You really are. Try to learn from those which are better than you. Yeah, those two partners gave us a lot of knowledge, practical knowledge how to do it, and don't be shy. Don't try to replicate your old habits. Try to be novel. Try to attack the real frontiers of the science. You can do it. With this mechanism, you can do it. Thank you. So that's for the time being.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gajewski, for your message, very optimistic message at the end, but also indicating many advantages you got being a part of the Centers of Excellence from the Teaming for Excellence. Now, let's remain at the level of the Teaming for Excellence. Widening instruments, teaming in particular, is connected with complementary funding scheme. Foundation for Polish Science implemented in the last financial perspective international Research Agendas program. Professor Zilic, could you share with us some lessons learned you used for the future shape of the instrument, and which novelties can we expect to meet new Teaming for Excellence call requirement?
Thank you very much for having me here. And I would like to tell you a little bit about the program which we are running for last more than 6 years. This is using structure funds and Smart Grow operational program. We create 14 centers of excellence, and between them, under 3 of them won the teaming program. So we have some experience in this. So such centers are devoted to research which are involved in global challenges. Excellent research, which we call research with consequences. Some politicians also say research with impact. And we have each of such a center have at least one partner institution. Some of them, like Nomaten, you just heard, have 2 partners, and those institutions are very noble. Oxford, EMBL, University of Edinburgh, and others. And we create centers of excellence where 30% of the PIs which are employed there are from abroad. 50%, statistically, 50% postdocs are from abroad. So you can see that people from abroad also recognize those centers as a place to work and to conduct excellent research. And of course, working with these 2 actually funds, one provided by DG Regio structure funds, and in the case of those who won the teaming program, we are we need to solve a lot of problems because those funds are not compatible, and so at least up to now in Horizon 2020 there was no synergy between those funds. I will maybe go back to this later, but about the synergy. But so what we expect from the new Horizon Europe program? First of all, that the criteria to select teaming will be more oriented the excellence of science. And this is something which is extremely important. Up to now, you have a scope, you assess the scope, you assess the expected impact, but importantly, you need to also assess the quality of science. So this is something which we expect that the attitude of the DG Research and Innovation will change in this area. And the second is that DG Research and Innovation will start to talk with the DG Regio and open both units to supporting excellence in science. This is extremely important because I think the creation of the centers of excellence will, in the future, have a tremendous impact in this that there will be places where you can really conduct a good science. So people who are going abroad, and young scientists should go abroad and learn how to do science in other countries, they will have a place to return. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very powerful political message, I believe, to that respect. Now let's move to the widening as horizontal aspects, and in particular widening elements in European partnerships. So what are the experiences in regard to widening aspects in European partnerships, and how to improve participation of widening countries in the new instruments financed under Horizon Europe? I target my question to Dr. Gębalska.
Good afternoon. I'm very happy for the invitation to this very interesting panel, and I'm happy to represent the National Science Center, Narodowe Centrum Nauki. Thank you for this important question. Indeed, widening is an important challenge in Horizon 2020 partnerships. Horizon 2020 partnerships are co-funded by European Commission, and these programs aim to organize calls for international research projects, which try to answer important research questions and challenges. Participation of widening countries in this type of programs is not yet satisfactory, both on the program level, but also on the funded projects level. Widening countries, organizations from widening countries in these programs is not yet satisfactory, and they're not active in those programs in the implementation and initiation of those programs. Also, in calls for proposals organized by these programs, teams from widening countries are not successful, and it must be said that the number of projects with widening countries is nearly 4.5 times less than the number of projects with non-widening countries. What is important, this issue has been already acknowledged by coordinators of Horizon 2020 partnerships, and these coordinators already implemented some bottom-up actions that help boost participation of widening countries in those programs. What I would like to turn your attention to is that last year, ERA Learn, a project that supports partnership programs with advice and with information from the European Commission. So ERA Learn published a report on widening and inclusiveness in Horizon 2020 partnership. A survey among Horizon 2020 partnership coordinators showed that widening countries, that measures supporting widening countries has been introduced as a bottom-up approach. So there is no systematic approach towards widening countries in partnership programs. Some among the measures that were adopted by partnership coordinators are measures such as helping with networking activities, so providing networking activities for researchers, but also prioritizing exec for proposals on a ranking list when widening countries are involved, so prioritizing projects with widening countries involved. We also, in partnership programs, you also can find hop-on mechanisms, which allows partners from widening countries to join projects between outline and full proposal stages in the application process. And according to the survey, all those actions, all those widening actions implemented, they do bring good results, they bring impact. And they result in a bigger number of applications submitted by widening countries, and then consequently more projects funded involving widening countries funded in the end. What is interesting and must be emphasized, pro-widening measures were also used by non-widening countries, so-called old member states, in case of less performing research communities in certain areas of research. So this means that widening actions can be also introduced and be also used for non-widening countries in order to support inclusiveness. And here I would like to also refer to what Professor Olko said, that we should think about widening as a tool to achieve inclusiveness and to share excellence between different research communities and to support diversity in research, because this is how we can strengthen the European research area. It's also important to speak about widening actions in partnerships when talking about the new framework program Horizon Europe. The actions already implemented in Horizon 2020 partnerships can be easily and successfully implemented in future European partnerships. And here I also would like to stress that widening and inclusiveness is especially relevant for the upcoming European partnerships in Horizon Europe, because a new principle, openness and transparency, is implemented, and this inclusiveness approach is expected on different stages of building the European partnerships. So on the stage of design, governance, and promoting the results, achievements of new European partnerships. Involving widening countries and less performing countries in the entire life cycle of such programs is regarded as a very important and essential component of future partnerships. It's especially important, bearing in mind that there's no institution from a widening country in the role of a coordinator of a European partnership. In this situation, I think it is very important to apply and support widening actions in future partnerships. And I strongly believe that measures already implemented, so the best practices from Horizon 2020 partnerships, can be successfully used and further developed in Horizon Europe. Thank you. Over to Katarzyna.
Thank you very much also for the positive finalization and for the positive message. We hope as well that the participation of widening countries in European partnership will be bigger this time. So now let's move to the second round of questions. But before we go, unfortunately, I have a message to the panelists that time is running really quickly. It's always like this with important and interesting discussions. So I would like to kindly ask you for shortening your intervention, unfortunately up to approximately 2 minutes. Please forgive me. The second round of the questions will be dedicated to the support ecosystem, some NCPs, managers, research support offices, national grants and experience coordinators. Let's start again with the Commission. Manuel, if you could elaborate a bit more on the new role for widening and ERA NCPs, which is foreseen in the Horizon Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Katarzyna, and thanks to all of you. I mean, I apologize because I think my first intervention was a bit long, so it's probably a little bit my fault we're a little bit behind time. Just one word of thanks for all the previous interventions, Dr. Olko, Dr. Gajewski, Professor Zilic, and Dr. Gebauska. I found your interventions absolutely fascinating. And your experiences, both the positive and the less positive, are incredibly important to us, Commission, and of course to everyone, because they're really what allows us to understand whether we are on the right track or not, and what we need to do to improve. So thank you very much. This is most sincere from my part. On NCPs, 2 words. So the intention here was precisely to look at what we do with NCPs, to try to understand what we can do better and how we can do more. So we will provide in the future work programs for actions in order to provide more support to NCPs. We are talking about transnational cooperation, trainings, mentorships, etc. And within this context, we are also looking at other aspects which can have practical value. So we talk about, for example, a matchmaking platform to improve the capacity of entities to find each other. This is still at the preliminary stage. We need to look at what makes sense here, if we use an existing platform such as Your Access, if we go in some other direction. And we are also looking at what we call pre-checks or proposal pre-checks, which are in fact also activities in order to help entities and to indeed train people to make their proposals and to provide skills in this area. So we think this kind of activity is important. In practice, it makes a difference. We have some experience already with this, and we think that this can help. But I stop here because I also want to listen to you, and I don't want to take too much time. Over to you, Katarzyna.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, this will be our role as NCPs to support you in new areas in the Horizon Europe. Let's stay at the institutional level. So I will target the next question to Professor Żylic. Foundation for Polish Science provides various types of grants for researchers. In designing them, how far do you take into account the perspective on Horizon Europe, for example, in regard to the remuneration rules or encouragements for European applications?
Mm-hmm. So I was talking only about the one program, and we have a few others. But one common thing is that we are, let's say, giving salaries compared to similar as OECD rules, as Marie Curie, Skłodowska-Curie. So this is something which is encouraging to apply, not only from Poland, but as you heard, also from abroad. We look very carefully about the Horizon 2020, about the Seal of Excellence, and we have no problem with Seal of Excellence with the ERC grant. So our grantees, which apply and they are very good in the competition on the ERC, but they do not succeed, receive extra money, receive extra time, and actually this is extremely important that next they can reapply and have a much better result. So, and we are seeing this very often. We have a problem with Seal of Excellence in TIMI program, so we will wait how this selection procedure will work in Horizon Europe. Up to now, our experience is not so positive on this area, and this is why we will still wait. But of course, if there will be a situation like this that the excellence in science will be also one of the criteria in the teaming program, there will be no problem with us. Our attitude is very simple. You cannot build center of excellence without excellence.
Thank you again. So we hope everything will be clarified soon. Professor Rolko, you have a various experience in regard to collaboration with support institutions while preparing your applications, like for example NCP Poland. Could you share with us your experiences you made so far?
Yes, so I've been pretty lucky with receiving professional support in developing my grants, my applications, and I really encourage researchers to use this opportunities, these possibilities, because excellent ideas are not enough. The successful application process requires excellent writing, excellent rhetoric, and a very good, profound understanding of program rules and expectations. So this is important, but also time is needed. Successful application requires sufficient time teamwork, collaboration, and expert support. So, for example, in the case of my first ERC grant, I was supported by the National Contact Point in the twinning application. We've received excellent support from, well, thanks to the Ministry of Science Grants program, we could use it to work with regional contact point in Poznań and also Poznań Science and Technology Park. And I think it was one of the keys to success to get the twinning grant. And finally, in the last ERC application, I'm very much indebted to the Office of Research Excellence in the Polish Academy of Sciences. And this shows certain model of support that you can use in Poland, because we were, I and my colleagues, my team partners, we were assisted from the very ideas that were already put on paper through the development of the proposals and the revision of the proposal. And it's also very important to include expert reviewers during the process and allow for time for improvement. And for example, in the case of the last ERC application, this was like a multi-step process, and I'm really happy that we could get feedback, very, very expert feedback from Polish scholars, ERC, other ERC grantees, and the supporting institutions at different stages, also during the subsequent stages of the application process. So what I want to emphasize, we have this infrastructure, we have this excellent support in Poland, so I really encourage everybody to use it and use it wisely. And we should not forget that support is also needed in the implementation phase. And in order to assure, to maximize our research results, we should invest in professional support in project management. And it's investment that will pay in multiple ways.
Thank you. So let's directly move to the professional project management. Dr. Gajewski, you are one of the founding father of the Teaming for Excellence Success. What is your daily agenda, and where did you gain the necessary knowledge to become an international project manager?
It was very pleasant for me that Professor Olko mentioned the role of project managers, yeah, but that's really, so what I do more or less what you do in NCP. So I search for various project options, I present them to the community, not only in my institute, let's say for the whole physics world in Poland. And in case of some initial interest, okay, I jump on this and I explain them all the details and how and why, and try to convince them to apply. And if they are convinced, okay, then I start a kind of an internal project to write a project proposal, yeah? So with all these stages like building the consortium, writing, managing, looking for deadlines, but also pre-evaluation, translation, submission, and later if the project was successful, a grant agreement and consortium agreement preparations. Oh, if the project is successful, then usually my function is ended. So I am a kind of a midwife. The baby is born, and I wish you good luck, and I jump on another one. In some rare cases, and Nomaten is one of them, I take some function in this project. So in case of Nomaten, I am a project manager, because it's a huge project, we said about it. But I am also a leader of one of the work packages. Yeah. In parallel, I try to share my knowledge with, let's say, ministry or NCP. I am training some young leaders. And in general, I am coordinating international, let's say, activities of my institute. For instance, 2 days ago, we had a session with JRC about the collaborative doctoral program, so I was somehow doing. But last but not least, I want to do something for my fun. So I have limited to my own research activity. I run some project in the area of cybersecurity, which is kind of my hobby. Okay, this didn't come from nothing, okay? I had to do it. I had a solid background in physics. 25 years I was an experimental physicist in large international collaborations, working in CERN, in DESY, in Dubna, in Russia, for instance. And then I entered the phase of being an international project manager. I worked for EC as a evaluating expert, the person who evaluated proposals or reviewed the running projects. The same I did for NATO, for UNDP, for Open Society, for Battery Foundation, many other international organizations. Then I also worked with the technical assistance projects for developing countries. So this is some projects usually funded by IDE. And last but not least, for the last 7 years, I am this coordinator at NCBR, huge institute with lots of work. And I feel happy with this. That's it.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, our session has come to an end. I had a very last question to foreseen in my scenario to Dr. Gębalska, how to become a coordinator of an international, of the European partnership. Because I would really like to give you the floor, if you could just say in 2-3 words how to do it, then we would be really grateful, and we really, unfortunately, have to finish.
Thank you for allowing me to answer this question, because I think it's a very important question, especially because we don't have many project coordinators in Horizon 2020. I think that collaboration is the most important thing, collaboration among national stakeholders. So we, NCN is number 4 in when you look at the list of beneficiaries of Horizon Europe, and we coordinate 5 initiatives, 5 European big programs with many partners, European partners. So I think collaboration among stakeholders, enthusiasm, and also collaboration with your national research community is important, and it helps you. So collaboration with all those partners helps you find new policies, new goals in international collaboration, but also helps researchers apply for grants directly from the European Commission and find new funding opportunities in Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe program. So collaboration would be the key word here.
Thank you very much. So this is really the end. It was my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to be today with you and to have the opportunity to lead such an important and powerful discussion.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, Katarzyna Walczyk-Matuszyk and her guests. And this is a very important message to all of our viewers. I presume that you want to stay with us till the very end. So right now, I would like you to proceed to channel number 1. We are right now in channel number 2. In channel number 2, I would like you to change the channels, and we're going to have a closing session on channel number 1. See you there in just an instant.